Let me tell you something most men never hear, and even fewer are ready to accept. Attraction is not built on what you show, it's built on what you don't reveal. Think about it. Why is it that some men say all the right things, do everything correct, and still get ignored, while others barely try, yet stay on her mind for days? It's not luck, it's not looks, and it's definitely not about being the nicest guy in the room. It's awareness. A level of awareness so rare, most people mistake it for mystery. You see, most men approach women like they're trying to win approval. They speak carefully, act carefully, constantly adjusting themselves based on how she responds. But the moment you do that, you've already lost something. Control. Not control over her, but control over yourself. And without that, everything you do becomes predictable, and predictable men are invisible. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you were truly curious about a woman, beyond how she looks? Not in a surface-level way, but in a way that actually challenged her. Most men never go there. They see beauty, and they stop thinking. They compliment her face, her body, her smile, as if she hasn't heard it 100 times before. And here's the truth that changes everything. The moment you focus on what everyone else sees, you become everyone else. But when you notice what others ignore, you separate yourself instantly. There's a shift that happens, subtle but powerful. When you stop reacting to her appearance and start responding to her mind, not with forced intelligence, not with rehearsed lines, but with genuine observation. You listen, really listen, and then you say something simple but unexpected. You see things differently, don't you? Pause. Watch her reaction, because in that moment, something changes. She's no longer being admired, she's being seen. And most people go their entire lives without that feeling. But here's where most men make a mistake. They think it's about what you say. It's not. It's about how you carry yourself when you say it. Because words without presence mean nothing. You can say the most intelligent thing in the world, but if your energy is seeking approval, she'll feel it. And once she feels that, you're no longer a challenge. You're just another voice. Now understand this clearly. Attraction is not built through constant validation. It's built through contrast, through moments that feel different from everything else she experiences. And that starts with one simple principle. Stop giving her what she expects. If she's used to attention, don't rush to give it. If she's used to being chased, don't follow the pattern. Not to play games, but to break the script. Because every woman you meet has a pattern, a rhythm she's used to. Men approach, men compliment, men try to impress, and she responds accordingly. But when you step outside of that rhythm, when you don't react the way she expects, you interrupt something deeper than behavior. You interrupt her certainty. And uncertainty is where curiosity begins. Let me explain something subtle. A woman doesn't become obsessed because you're perfect. She becomes obsessed because she can't fully understand you. There's always something slightly out of reach, something she can't quite predict, and that's what keeps her mind engaged. But here's the key. You don't create mystery by hiding everything. You create it by revealing selectively. You give just enough, then you step back. You engage, then you disappear into your own world. Not completely, just enough. Enough to create space, because space is where emotion grows. If you're always there, always responding, always available, there's nothing for her to feel. No tension, no anticipation, no curiosity. And without those, attraction fades. But when your presence isn't constant, when it comes and goes naturally, she starts to notice something. Your absence. And what people don't realize is that absence has more emotional weight than presence, because presence is expected, but absence makes the mind work. She starts thinking, why am I thinking about him? What is it about him that feels different? And the answer is simple. You didn't try to impress her. You didn't try to win her. You stayed centered. And that's what most men don't understand. The goal is not to make her like you. The goal is to make her feel something she can't explain. And that feeling doesn't come from effort. It comes from restraint, from knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, from knowing when to engage and when to pull back, from knowing that your value is not in how much you give, but in how you choose to give it. Because once a woman feels that, once she realizes that your attention is not automatic, not guaranteed, not something she can control, something shifts. She leans in, not because you chased her, but because you didn't. And that's where it begins. Not attraction, not interest, something deeper, something quieter, something that builds, slowly, inside her mind. There's a moment, subtle, almost invisible, where everything starts to change. Not in what she says, but in how she begins to experience you. Most men miss this moment completely because they're too focused on results, too focused on labels, too focused on trying to figure out where they stand. But attraction doesn't work like that. It doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself through shifts. And the biggest shift happens when she stops reacting to you and starts thinking about you. That's when the dynamic changes. Because now, you're no longer just someone she interacts with. You become someone she tries to understand. And understanding is where emotional investment begins. Let me explain something most men overlook. A woman doesn't get attached because of what you give her. She gets attached because of what she builds in her own mind about you. The meaning she creates, the questions she asks herself, the conclusions she slowly forms. That internal process is what pulls her deeper. And you influence that process not by doing more, but by doing less with intention. Think about it. If every interaction with you is predictable, if every message sounds the same, if your energy never shifts, her mind has nothing to explore. No depth, no layers, no reason to stay engaged. But when your presence has variation, when sometimes you're calm, observant, almost distant, and other times you're sharp, playful, unexpectedly bold, you create something powerful, emotional movement. And the human mind, especially when it comes to attraction, gets hooked on movement because it feels alive. It feels unresolved. And unresolved emotions don't fade easily. They linger. That's why she starts replaying conversations, not because you said something perfect, but because something about the interaction felt incomplete, something she couldn't fully grasp. And the mind hates unfinished stories, so it goes back again and again, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure you out. But here's the part most men get wrong. They think unpredictability means inconsistency. It doesn't. Your core must remain stable. Your values, your tone, your presence should feel grounded. But your expression, that's where variation lives. You don't react the same way every time. You don't respond on autopilot. You stay aware, and that awareness shows. Sometimes you let things pass without reaction. Sometimes you acknowledge them in a way she didn't expect. Sometimes you lead the interaction. Sometimes you let silence do the work. And that balance is what creates depth, because now she can't categorize you. You don't fit into the boxes she's used to. You're not overly eager. You're not emotionally distant. You're something in between, something she hasn't fully experienced before. And that uncertainty is not confusion. It's curiosity. There's a difference. Confusion pushes people away. Curiosity pulls them in. And what creates curiosity isn't chaos. It's controlled unpredictability. A man who knows exactly what he's doing, but doesn't reveal everything at once. Now, here's where it gets deeper. At some point, she starts testing the dynamic. Not consciously, but instinctively. She might pull back slightly, delay a response, shift her tone. Not because she lost interest, but because she's trying to feel your stability. She wants to see, do you react? Do you chase? Do you lose your center? And this is where most men fail, because they interpret the shift as a problem, something to fix. So they lean in harder. They text more, explain more, try to bring things back to how they were. But in doing that, they break the very thing that was creating attraction, their composure. Because attraction doesn't grow when you react emotionally, it grows when you remain unchanged, when your energy isn't dependent on her behavior, when you don't rush to correct every shift, when you let things breathe. That's when she notices something different. You're not like the others. You're not easily moved, not easily influenced. And that creates respect. And respect is what allows attraction to deepen. Because without respect, everything else fades quickly. But when respect is there, even small interactions carry weight. Your words mean more. Your silence means more. Your presence becomes something she pays attention to. And slowly, without realizing it, she starts adjusting, matching your pace, matching your energy, trying to stay aligned with you. Not because you told her to, but because she feels it. That alignment is not forced. It's earned through consistency in who you are and flexibility in how you show up. And this is where the shift becomes undeniable. She's no longer just responding to you. She's investing in you, emotionally, mentally, even subconsciously. And the more she invests, the harder it becomes to detach. Because now it's not just about you, it's about what she's built around you. The thoughts, the feelings, the meaning. And once that starts, it doesn't fade easily. It deepens, quietly, gradually, but powerfully, until one day she realizes something she can't quite explain. You're not just someone she talks to anymore. You're someone she thinks about even when you're not there. There comes a point where it's no longer about what you do. It's about what you don't react to. Because by now, if you've understood everything at a deeper level, you realize something most men never grasp. Attraction is not built through effort. It's built through emotional control. And this is where the final shift happens, not in her, but in you. Because the moment you stop trying to influence her feelings and start mastering your own, everything changes. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop overanalyzing responses. You stop needing constant reassurance. And in that space, you become something rare, unshakable. Let me ask you something. What happens when she pulls away and you don't react? No double text, no sudden change in behavior, no silent panic, just calm, presence, clarity. At first, it confuses her because she's used to men reacting, used to emotional spikes, used to control through attention. But when that control doesn't work on you, her focus shifts. She starts watching more closely, trying to understand what is different about him. And here's the truth. It's not that you're doing something special. It's that you're not doing what everyone else does. You're not seeking validation. You're not chasing certainty. You're not trying to force connection. You allow it. And that changes everything. Because now your presence feels different. It feels grounded. And people are drawn to what feels grounded, especially in a world where most interactions are reactive, impulsive, unstable. Now here's where it goes deeper. Silence. Most men are afraid of it. They think silence means something is wrong, that they need to fix it, fill it, explain it. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. And space is where emotions expand. When you stop filling every gap, you give her room to feel, to think, to wonder, to miss. And missing is powerful. Because you cannot miss what is always there. You can only miss what has value. And value is never constant. It's experienced in moments. So when your attention comes, it feels real. When it's gone, it's noticed. And that contrast creates depth. Now understand this clearly. This is not about disappearing. It's not about playing cold. It's about not overextending your presence. You give, but you don't flood. You engage, but you don't chase. You connect, but you don't cling. And in that balance, you create something most men never do. Emotional tension. Not stress, not confusion, but a subtle pull. A feeling that something is there, but not fully within reach. And that feeling keeps her mind active. She replays moments, reanalyzes conversations, feels the weight of your absence, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. And here's where most men lose everything. They get this far, and then they relax too much. They think the connection is secure, that the attraction is permanent, so they change. They become more available, more predictable, more emotionally exposed. And slowly, they lose the very thing that made them different, their center. Because the truth is, attraction doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades through overexposure, through predictability, through the loss of mystery. That's why the final principle is simple, but difficult to live. Stay the same even when things feel certain. Not rigid, not distant, but consistent in your self-control. You don't give more just because you can. You don't react more just because you feel comfortable. You stay aware, always. Because awareness is what keeps everything balanced. Now here's the deeper layer most people never reach. It's not about making her obsessed. It's about becoming a man who doesn't need that. Because the moment you need obsession, you lose power. But when you don't, when you're grounded in yourself, when your life, your purpose, your direction exists independently of her, that's when everything aligns. Because now, she's not your focus. She's part of your world. And people value what they enter more than what revolves around them. So she leans in, not because you pulled her, but because she feels your stability, your restraint, your presence. And that presence is not loud. It doesn't try to impress. It doesn't seek attention. It simply exists, calm, controlled, unmoved. And that is what stays in her mind. Not your words, not your actions, but the way she felt around you. The way nothing about you seemed forced. The way you didn't react when most would. And in a world full of noise, that kind of silence becomes unforgettable.